So, I moved in yesterday. I got all my stuff. I was able to figure out what happened to that other $100, and it was basically a pending transaction from a hold charge from Lyft. When I tried to get the first Lyft from the hospital, I ended up just looping back around to Cumberland Farms instead of going to the hotel. So when I tried to get another Lyft after that, every time I were to select the Lyft, it were to go up $5. Until a certain point where it literally said $75 for a ride that was only about 3 miles. Each time I did that, it added another hold to the total transaction because Lyft started, they started charging the total ride. So if I got like 2 or 3 different rides in one day, they would charge it all at the end of the night. So they put a extra hold on. It's just weird because they need to know that you have enough in your account to be able to pay for all the rides total in that day. Instead of before, they would just charge you each time for those rides. I guess because people are using regular credit cards, not prepaid cards, sometimes they would not charge at all. So that's what the confusion was. I just called my PayPal account. They just credited me back the $97. So I have a little bit for this week, and I can put that toward next week's rent. Cumberland Farms, the guy's on vacation, I guess, so I'm gonna have to call next Monday. But he should have my application saved in the system anyway. But this whole thing started Tuesday. It was like the middle of the day on Tuesday. I ended up, there was no one at the house. I got my, a bunch of 100 proof nips. And I was walking around drinking them. I guess I got to the 8th one, and I don't remember what happened after. I just remember waking up in the emergency room. Supposedly, the owner called an ambulance, and then that's why I was down there. So when I came back at 6 or 7 in the morning, he called back. And he gave me an opportunity to either I have 24 hours to gather my stuff together, and I can find somewhere else. This is him doing it calmly, and then or if I can find a detox for 7 days after I come back, I can stay there again. And all I was thinking was, I've tried multiple times to try to get into detoxes, and I can only go to the emergency room really. There's places in Massachusetts called AdCare, Addiction Care, whatever, and my insurance doesn't cover that at all. This place, they actually send a ride to pick you up, and you can spend 7 days. That's where a lot of the other guys were going, but most of the guys at that house, they were all on disability, so they all had Medicaid, and Medicaid covers so much more, like whole titanium shaft replacements and spinal recorrections and stuff. Mine's just basic kind of mass health. So another place I'm restricted from because they said I'd be better at a dual diagnosis center, which actually wasn't a thing. In order for me to leave, I made it seem like I had dual diagnosis, which technically, who doesn't if they're addicted to substances? So I'm like, I don't know. So right after that, I just called the owner of this place and was like, is my 30 days up? And he's like, yes, your 30 days are up. You want to come back? So I'm like, good. So I had in my wallet, I had $180. And then there was a little bit of money left over on PayPal for the second week's rent, first and last. And I still had all my stuff. So I went out back and I was just smoking some cigarettes, and I was starting to finish the other nips that I didn't finish. I was playing music, and then the guy on the 3rd floor, because the 3rd floor of this other sober house is regular people, so they're not drug tested. So it's definitely late enough. It's 11 o'clock, and this guy, one of the guys upstairs, he's younger than me. He's like, turn that shit off, and he's just yelling out the window. I'm like, it's the middle of the day, I'm outside and I'm just playing dance music, and it was not that loud. I just guess he just didn't want to hear it, even though they scream at their video game all the time. So I was like, fine. And then I guess someone saw me drinking just even one of the nips. So they called the owner, and then everything changed. So they wanted me off the property like that second. And I'm like, well, okay, I'm going to need some of my stuff. So I was hoping just to take what I had and go to the hotel just to chill out for a day, come back to the house the next day, and then move in here. But I gathered my laptop, I gathered a bunch of clothes, and I put the wallet with the cash in the backpack. I walked down the street, but I really needed to rest like as soon as possible. So I found a spot on the side of the road, like in this empty lot, whatever, and I just fell asleep. When I woke up, everything was gone. Thankfully, I had a backup wallet that was hidden somewhere with a debit card, my food stamp card, and a different driver's license. This is for another address, but still, that was fine. I had the phone, I had everything else, my glasses, so I ended up just walking around town. I didn't even have nips at the time. I'd spent like 3 or 4 hours. I ate something. Police actually drove me to a park so I could just eat a salad. And then I got a ride from this other guy. He drove me to the meeting because I knew that the meeting was on. But I just started feeling like crap. So I asked some of the residents, the ones that from here that go to that meeting, if they could just bring me to Roger Williams Hospital, which is it's a hospital in Providence. And they do a much better job in a detox and emergency room than this hospital, which is right down the street. I don't like going there, so I ended up getting out of there, but my stomach was still unsteady, so I only got like 4 nips, and they weren't 100 proofs, they were just the Jim Beam honeys. So I got a ride, I thought was to a Cumberland Farms, the one that I went to multiple times 2 days ago, 3 days ago, but the guy drove me to a Cumberland Farms in South Attleboro, which is another 5-6 miles away from Attleboro. So I just had an ambulance bring me back to the hospital. That way I'm there, you know. And then from 1 a.m. up until when I got here at like 12 p.m., I was just walking around trying to figure out stuff, but I ended up gathering all my stuff. I had to leave the bike again with the pop tire. If we're going to the meeting tonight, I asked one guy if he could just push it down the street to the meeting and I'll pick it up. The tubes are being sent to that address, so I hope like they'll get my mail and I can get the tube in, whatever, but so I still have to wait on the bike again. This is the 3rd bike in like 6 months, and all not because of drinking, it's just because they keep failing. The first bike was too small, that was a Mongoose, which the 3rd bike was also a Mongoose, but I sold the other bike because I bought the Huffy bike. But the Huffy bike, the gears ended up breaking, so I couldn't use that one. And then when I was here, I ended up buying a Mongoose, which I had to fix the brakes, the brake line, the tires, a whole bunch of other stuff. It was just more work, again, than necessary. So there's no party speaker anymore. So right now I'm just smoking a cigarette, drinking coffee. That's it.